If you're like me, you're having problems with spirit generation as a druid. I found a few small tweaks that I was able to implement in my build, and as you can see, this spirit generation, basically every pulverize, I'm getting max spirit back. It's so pleasant to play. You just herd up a bunch of enemies, especially when you go into werebear form with your ultimate Grizzly Rage, and then you can really start ramping damage, and then you're just melting elites. So in this guide, I'll take you through what you need to do in order to get your spirit generation to supreme levels. So first thing to talk about in the build is the gear. We have Vasili's Prayer as the helm. This unique makes your earth skills now also werebear skills, and they fortify you. And this will synergize really well in this build. On the chest piece then we have Insatiable Fury, another unique. This will make your true form werebear, and it gives +2 ranks to all werebear skills. This synergizes really well with the helm. So we now have our earth skills as werebear skills, so they're all gaining +2 in ranks as well. On the gloves then, we have earth skills deal extra damage to crowd controlled enemies, extra critical strike damage. This is a really important skill or aspect to have, because we're going to be crowd controlling a lot of our enemies, nearly all of them. On the gloves we want critical strike chance as well, and the lucky hit chance if you can get it to drop. This will help to proc our key passive. On the pants then, I just have Disobedience just for a bit of tankiness. Then on the boots, I've imprinted earth skills slow enemies that are hit by 50% for 5 seconds. So now all of our earth skills are causing crowd control. On our main weapon, we are having the pulverized shockwave aspect, which will really ramp our pulverized damage up. I have it on the two-hander as well, so it doubles the value of the increase in damage. Obviously on the weapon you're looking for vulnerable damage, overpower damage, and any other extra damages you can get. On the rings, on the first one I put your primary resources restored by crowd controlling enemies. So you can see again the crowd control is really tying it in again. So we're getting more resources back whenever we're crowd controlling, which is anytime we hit at all. And on the ring we're also looking for vulnerable damage, lucky hit chance, critical strike chance. On our second ring we actually did get critical strike chance, which is great. And we've imprinted the aspect that causes an increase in our Grizzly Rage duration, and every time you critically strike in Grizzly Rage you get an increase in critical strike damage. So this is how we ramp our damage up. We pop our Grizzly Rage, we have a big group of enemies, we're doing a pulverized slam, you're getting a lot of critical strikes, the damage has gone up, and now you're able to do serious damage to elites. On the amulet then, we have Pulverize is now an earth skill. So now it's an earth skill, and this is your main damage dealer, your main skill that you're using. This is going to be hitting your big group of mobs, and it's an earth skill now, so it's slowing enemies, so it's crowd controlling. So now we're getting some resource back. So now in the skill tree, we start off with Earth and Spike. Nothing too fancy here. This is just your resource builder if you ever do find yourself in a pinch. Just 1 point in there and 1 point into the secondary, which also stuns enemies at 10% chance. Continuing on then, all 5 points into Pulverize. Pulverize well as overpower every 12 seconds while you remain healthy. And enemies hit by Pulverize deal 20% reduced damage, so just making yourself a bit more tanky as well. Then we've taken Earth and Bulwark, just 1 rank. You can see from our gear we're getting an extra 3 ranks into it though. And just your usual chain for defensive options, we're not taking the one that hits enemies. We've also taken Ancestral Fortitude, which is increasing our non-physical resistances by 15%. A bit more tanky again. Skipping the companion tree altogether and then moving straight on to Hurricane. Hurricane is going to slow our enemies down and give us a bit more damage reduction. And it's just like cumulative hits as well to build up. Might get a few critical strikes from it. And this is just another defensive tool. And we're also taking Crushing Earth tree, taking everything in this whole skill tree here. All these passives are compounding your Earth skills, which is now pulverized as well. So you're getting more Fortify, you're getting more crowd control. It's just really ramping up the build. Then we're taking Trample. It's a nice unstoppable get out of jail card. Next then we're taking Ultimate Grizzly Rage, maxing that out. Grizzly Rage is where we're going to be dealing our big damage from. We're taking 3 ranks into Defiance, Nature Skills, which is our Pulverize now because of that aspect. And we're just taking 3 more ranks into Circle of Life and 2 into Natural Disaster, just to get that increased damage and the extra fortification. And finally, what ties it all together, Earthen Might. When we lucky hit proc this, it restores all of our spirit and then causes for 5 seconds all our attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes. You'll see that the lucky hit chance is actually increased by 10% if enemies are critically struck. So you can see this is really what ties the whole thing together. You're going to be hitting big groups of mobs and you're getting your chances of proccing this is really high. So you're getting all your spirit back in one blast. And then you're able to go again, boom, 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 pulverize, pulverize. For the spirit boons, I've taken increased critical chance, reduced damage from elites, extending the length of our ultimate, and nature skills have a chance to reduce the cooldown of our ultimate. And every 20th kill will overpower our earth skills. Then on the Paragon board, I've gone for the Exploit Glyph. This applies vulnerable to our enemies and ramps up our vulnerable damage as well. This is really key to nearly all builds across all characters. Vulnerable damage is just completely broken. I won't go into too much detail, but as I've gone up, I've gone for the legendary Ancestral Guidance, the legendary node Ancestral Guidance. So we're spending a lot of spirit, so we want the extra damage from it. Hit up all the extra spirit you can get on the board, extra damage from core skills. And as the build progresses, I can do updated versions of the Paragon board if needs be. This build is essentially just a stopgap until you can get yourself a Tempest Roar helm, and then you can go Werewolf Druid because it's just a superior build. But this build is great because a lot of the legendary aspects from that you need for this build you would probably have picked up along the way since you've completed the campaign, kind of on your journey through tier 3 into tier 4. So I think this is a good stopgap build for Druid as they progress towards the more interesting werewolf tornado builds. Well, in my opinion, it is. They look much faster and do more damage. But I think this one, a lot of people will have picked up the aspects. It's probably more accessible to a wider player base. So if you like this video, give us a like and a subscribe, and I'll look forward to future videos and seeing you guys there. Thanks a million. Bye.